Hello my friends, I'm Brett Larkin. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel, and especially super huge warm welcome if you're new. Today we're doing a yin class. This class is going to ground you. We're really going to touch on pretty much all the major parts of the body in this class. So really well-rounded and relaxing. Let's get started. So our first posture is the yin posture called dangle, which is literally just a forward fold. So I'm gonna invite you to have your feet hip width apart for this one, but of course make adjustments to do what feels best for you and your body. And the knees can be deeply bent, torso on the thigh bones. I'm gonna clasp opposite elbows to begin. Crown of head points straight down to the floor. So the chin is dipped into the chest, the back of the neck is long. And we'll be here for around 3 minutes. So maybe start holding opposite elbows and then maybe just allow the backs of the hands to rest on the floor. You can play with bending the knees a lot and then straightening them. Roll your weight to the heels and the balls of the feet. So feel through all the different expressions that this dangling posture can take before settling into the one that you're going to choose to hold for the next 3 minutes or so. Once you've found where you want to be, whether it's holding opposite elbows, hands to the floor, knees bent or straight, begin to slow down your breath. Ensure that the back of the neck is long, chin dipped in. I love opening with this pose because I visualize all the mind stuff just falling out the top of my head, all the internal chatter and dialogue. As you let the surface level chatter of the mind begin to fade away, focus more fully on your breath. So it's the deep inhale and full exhale that holds your attention here for the next few minutes or so. Surrender fully to this shape, and you'll hear my voice again in a few minutes. Soften the backs of the knees if you have the tendency to hyperextend. Really ensure that the chin is into the chest so the crown of the head points straight down. Head is heavy. Deepen the breath, stay in the pose. Feel the inner and outer heel rooting down, big toe and pinky toe pressing firmly into the mat. If you have opposite elbows, let that go. Either press the hands into the floor or into the shins. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to come straight into our next yin posture. Heel toe the feet wide and come into yogi squat. So your version of a squat. If this is just too much for you, alternate posture you can take here is a butterfly. So you need to listen to your body. So you're coming into malasana, squat pose, otherwise sitting on your sits bones with the soles of the feet touching. A couple different variations you can play with here. Elbows pressing into the thighs. You can also kind of cup right palm on left or left on right and allow the upper back to round a little bit. Another option is you could actually slide the hands between the thigh and the calf. And if you slide the wrists up into this space, it can even be an interesting little bit of a wrist massage. You can also clasp opposite elbows. Play with a couple variations and see where you think you want to hang out. Now, in the Vinyasa practice, we're very focused on pressing the elbows into the thighs and really rooting out of the low spine. For today's yin, don't worry so much about keeping the thighs back. It's okay to let a little bit of gentle rounding come into the upper back and to allow the tailbone to fully release down. So the low back should feel like it's expanding and widening as opposed to trying to arch into some sort of straighter position. Fidget, see what's going to feel good for you here. Head can be neutral, gazing ahead or down towards the ground. Palms at prayer, any of the variations I mentioned. Once you choose where you need to be, you close the eyes, you go inward. And you begin sending the healing current of your breath to the area that's most talking to you, whether it's the low back, the hips, the hamstrings, any pain in the knees, you want to back off and take that alternate variation of butterfly pose that I mentioned before. Otherwise, settle in to your breath here, and you'll hear my voice again in a few minutes. Even as you keep the tail lengthening down and the low back relaxed, see if you can refine this shape just slightly by pressing down into the pinky toe side of the foot. See if that enables the low back to release even more. And then make sure you're soft in the jaw, soft in the face, allowing the head to be heavy and the chin to dip in if that feels right for you. Deepen your inhale. Press through the pinky toe sides of the feet. Place the hands on the ground if they're not already. And just come to sit in a cross-legged position wherever you are, making that transition just Sukhasana, easy pose. We'll take the palms face up in the lap and just notice how you feel after these first two postures together. And observing an inhale and an exhale. And dip the chin, gently blink your eyes open. Setting up for our next posture. This one's a deep quad stretch. Again, if you have knee pain or knee sensitivity, proceed with caution and I'll show you some ways you can adjust. So in an ideal scenario, your seat is between your heels and you walk your hands back in space until perhaps the elbows come to the ground and then perhaps the whole torso comes to the ground. Now watch me carefully here because this is an important detail. If you're going to come to lie down on your back, I want you to lift your hips and lengthen and shoot your tailbone forward so that we take any unnecessary arch out of the low back. Again, the low back is naturally lordotic, so there will be some arch, right? I can slide my hand underneath here, and that's fine. But we don't want the low back to be overly arched in an extreme way. So best we can, we want to lift the hips, lengthen the tailbone forward. So it's like my hips are moving towards my chin and my tailbone is lengthening to the space between my knees. And when you set the seat back down, you'll hopefully feel a more intense stretch along the tops of the quads, in addition to having just protect the low back here. Now, if this shape is not something that you feel like you can come into, things that are going to help you are perhaps to sit on a cushion, and you could just stay right here. This might feel very intense for you in a seated pose. You could consider walking back, again with that attention to lifting the hips and lengthening the tailbone forward, and feel a stretch on the tops of the quads here. Maybe you come down onto the elbows. So the cushion is extremely helpful, and you can also use pillows Or I love grabbing cushions from my couch when I don't have my yoga props with me. It's good to remember that for most bodies, this stretch is very intense, even just in a seated pose without leaning back at all. So just be mindful, and again, any sensation in the knees is a sign we want to back off. We want sensation in the tops of the quads, not in the knee joint. So setting up into whatever variation you're coming into, the knees are about as wide as the hips, so you don't want the knees flaring wider than the hips. You also don't want the knees touching. So however wide your hips are is a good guide for where the knees should be. If you're coming to lie all the way down, I like to clasp opposite elbows above my head. Again, always adjusting to lengthen the tailbone between the knees. Wherever you are, deepen the breath. Commit fully to exploring this shape for the next several minutes. Remember, you don't want to go quickly to your end range here. You want to be in a place where you feel sensation, but that sensation is such that you can hold the pose for a long period of time without feeling strain in the body, without efforting or tensing. Make a few micro adjustments to just soften where you might be feeling any tension. Then transitioning into total stillness here. Letting the pose work its magic on you. Nowhere to go or be but right here. Take a deep breath into your belly, your power center. And exhale. Take a deep breath into your chest, filling up the space of the heart. And exhale. Feel the whole body still for a full breath in and out. And from here, slowly coming out of the pose the same way you came in. So if you're lying on your back, take the hands to the ankles or soles of the feet. Prop yourself up on your elbows one at a time, very gently pressing yourself up. Once again, we'll meet in Sukhasana, easy seat, to observe the after effects of the pose. So coming to sit however is comfortable for you. Palms face up in the lap, inhaling. Exhaling. Twice more like that on your own. So our next posture is shoelace. Focusing once again on the hips. Again, I'll show a couple variations. So I like to get into this posture via all fours. So you'll start with taking the left knee behind the right and then sitting back between your heels. Now, again, really great place. Most of us will need a cushion underneath the seat. And then you'll look down to see that your heels are equidistant from your hips. So if I took a protractor on the left and the right, the heels would be equidistant from your hips. And again, just being right here may be a lot of sensation in the outer hips. Otherwise, you can choose to tip forward. And I wouldn't tip forward if I were on a huge cushion. Again, see what works for your body. But if you can be here comfortably on the ground with a nice long spine, the option to tip forward is available. And things you can do once that happens is stack the head on 2 blocks, if that feels nice. And remember to use all the sides of the blocks when you're setting these up, right? You can really modify it to make it perfect for you. For those of you who find it very uncomfortable to sit in this position, you really are just going to experience the same benefits through experiencing this posture on your back. So left knee under right, you'll lie down and you'll hold the ankles. Same rule with the protractor, right? So you want to make sure that the ankles are equidistant from the hips, meaning that the left isn't, down, or the right isn't down here. You really want to look just like 2 sides of a fan, if your body were the middle, that the ankles are equidistant from the hips. And then just gentle pressure down. Again, any knee pain, you back off. But otherwise, you're holding the outer shin and just allowing gravity to do its work. Make sure to keep the shoulder blades relaxed, so you don't want to be reaching. And even if you can do the seated variation, you might enjoy the supine reclined variation. So pick whichever you want to be. Hopefully you've tried both as I explain them. And if you're coming back into the seated version, if that's your preference, we're starting with left knee behind right. So reclined or seated, each have slightly different energetic qualities that I think are really beneficial. So pending what's going on in your body on this day, you can choose whichever variation feels best for you. Settling in now. Checking that the heels are equidistant from the hips on each side. Relaxing the jaw and the tongue. Scanning the body for any unnecessary tension, softening the shoulders. Surrendering to the pose. Stay in the posture, take a deep inhale. Stay in the posture, take a deep exhale. Release the ankles if you're on your back and you were holding them. If you are seated, walk the hands towards the body, very gently pressing yourself up. Regardless of which variation you did, we'll meet in a seated posture with the legs out in front of us. Soles of the feet on the floor, and just let the hips roll, knees roll from side to side. So just windshield wiping the knees left and right. And then let the legs go long. And you can take the ankles in some circles. And reverse the direction of the circles. Good. And then let the legs turn in and out. Give the legs a shake. And setting up for the second side. So whether you're reclined or seated, the difference is that this time the right knee will come behind the left. So right knee behind left. Seated or on your back. Checking that the heels are equidistant from the hips. Releasing any tension in the neck or shoulders. Folding forward if that feels appropriate. Grabbing hold of the ankles if you're lying down. Drop into your own experience. Going to that place where you feel sensation, where you can play your edge, and then inviting everything to soften. Stay in the posture, take a deep breath in, sending the breath down into the area of the hips. Exhale completely. Release the ankles if you're on your back, or begin to walk your hands back in space. Slowly coming up to a seat. And then same thing, taking the legs in front of us, soles of the feet to the floor. Windshield wipering the legs from side to side. From here, coming down to lie down on our belly. So legs lengthen behind you. And we're coming into seal. So a couple options that I'll give you here. If you want to just take Sphinx, low back is tender, maybe you're dealing with some sensitivity in the low spine, this is a really good place to be. Elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. Your gaze is at the horizon line. Chin is just slightly in, so the back of the neck is long. If it feels okay, you can come on into seal by pressing the hands ahead of you. The key here is you don't, and I like to actually have my hands on the wood if you're practicing at home, or they can be on the mat. I really like pressing into the wood. I feel like it gives me even more stability. The key here is you don't want your low back to feel tender or pinched. So if the low back feels tender or pinched, lengthen your tailbone back, pull your navel in just a touch, or just come back into that variation of Sphinx with the elbows on the ground. So experiment with both and see where you think you want to be. We won't be here as long as we were in the hip stretches. Wherever you are, just visualize the heart melting forward as the tailbone lengthens back. Let the breath flow easily through the torso. Let the eyes drift closed. And drop into this present moment, cultivating present moment awareness. As you observe, but don't react to whatever sensations have come up here. Keep the breath long and full, and you'll hear my voice again in about 2 minutes or so. Stay in the posture, take a deep breath in and out. Once more, deep breath in and out. Lower down onto the elbows, and then just take one palm face down, the other palm face down on top of it, just making a pillow for your head, and let your forehead rest on top of both hands. Just wag your hips from side to side. Taking the next 8 to 10 breaths to just fully rest and receive. Wag the hips from side to side once again. Take the hands underneath the shoulders. Press yourself up to all fours. Spread the palms wide and lengthen back into a downward facing dog. Knees can stay deeply bent, or you can straighten one leg or then the other. Downward facing dog, just to neutralize the low back. Find some length in the spine. You can pedal the legs or keep both knees generously bent. Bring the knees to touch the earth. Setting up for our last posture, which is snail. So plow pose, basically. It's like if you're coming into a shoulder stand, but you stay in plow and you allow the knees to bend on either side of the face. If you know that you don't want to take snail, for example, you have a neck injury, low back injury, just come into legs up the wall. Just lie down with your legs up the wall, or even your legs on a chair or your sofa in your home. Otherwise, if you're coming into snail, I'd like to show you a way to set it up to really protect your neck. So I'd grab a blanket and make sure it's a blanket that you can fold so it's somewhat thick, and then you want it about this dimension. So you can place it down on your mat about a third of the way down your mat. I've also pulled this about a third of the way down. So together these things are giving some height here. And then you're going to fold the top of your mat over your support and really make sure that your whole upper arm is going to have room to rest here, because we're going to have our head and neck off the blanket, off the support, and our shoulders will be here. And so you want this to be long enough for your elbows. And when in doubt, just make it extra long. So I pulled this back a little to make this even longer. Legs up the wall if you're not joining for snail. Otherwise, line your shoulders up with the edge of your support. Head and neck is off your support. I like to start with my fingertips grazing my heels, just so I feel where I am in space, lifting the hips up and interlacing my fingers underneath my seat. From here, use your core to pull yourself into plow and bend the knees right away. From here, shimmy the shoulders underneath you. And try not to look at the screen, just follow the instructions of my voice, because turning your head or neck in this position is actually quite dangerous. So either watch me first and then rewind and come into it, or come into it just listening to my voice without looking at the screen. Keeping the fingers interlaced, you shoulder shimmy. Keep rocking side to side to get the shoulder blades as close to one another as possible underneath you. And then you're going to let the knees rest right at the level of the temples, and even potentially gently squeeze the temples. So in plow would be straightening the legs, but for this yin variation for snail, you're just letting the knees stay bent, allowing the low back to deeply round, almost massaging your own head and face with the knees. And don't be afraid to create some gentle compression of the knees, pressing into each temple. Can actually feel quite good and healing for the face, the eyes and jaw. And deepen your breathing. And begin to cultivate a quality of relaxation here. And stay in the posture. Take a deep breath in and out. Once more, in and out. Bend your elbows. Take your hands to your low back for support as you guide your seat down towards the floor. Pull the knees into the chest. And then just take the knees in small circles to the right. And then small circles to the left. Gently roll to one side now and press yourself up. Coming once again into a seated position. Just to notice how you feel. Take a deep breath in and out. Choose to stay here for 5 more breaths, or come once again into downward facing dog as a way to just stretch the low back and neutralize the low spine. Just 3 or 4 breaths, seated or downward facing dog. And drop your knees to the ground and begin to organize yourself for your Shavasana. So that might look like a bolster underneath the knees, covering yourself with a blanket, putting on socks, a sweater, an eye pillow, whatever feels good for you. So you can feel supported as you fully rest. If lying down on the back is too much, the low back feels tender or sensitive, place a bolster underneath the knees. If you don't have a bolster, knees bend, feet as wide as the mat, and let the knees drop into touch. If you still have sensitivity, you can always take Shavasana lying on your side. So just rolling onto the left or right side, using the forearm as a pillow. Wherever you are, drop in fully. Allow your body to really receive the nourishment you've provided over these last 60 minutes or so. And give yourself time to fidget and adjust, gathering any extra props or sweaters so you can really rest. See if you can drop below the surface level of the mind. Connecting to a deeper state of consciousness. A deep, resilient part of yourself. A replenishing, nourishing practice like this helps us be aware of our own vitality. See if you can sense or feel that vitality within you as you lie here right now. Shavasana. And deepen the breath. Slowly wiggle fingers and toes. Draw one knee and then the other into the chest. And give yourself a big squeeze. Roll over to your right side using your right forearm as a pillow, left hand to the mat. Gently pressing yourself up to a seat. Closing our practice together by uniting our hands in prayer. Bringing the left and right side of the body together. And palms press, back of neck lengthens, breath is full. And breathe in. Breathe out. And once more, breathe in. And out. If you like, on the next in-breath, you can say namaste. Namaste meaning that when you are in this place of yoga in you, and I am in this place of yoga in me, we are one and the same. Namaste. Namaste.